Alright guys, today is our fourth video in the square roots unit, and today we are just solving some equations. They may be a little more complicated than we did a couple of sections ago. We had some equations with square roots and cube roots in it. So today is just some equations that are a little more complicated, a little bigger, a little more steps to them. All right, so let's try exercise number 1 here. And all I'm going to ask you to do is just do what comes naturally in solving for x. All right, at first glance, this seems really complicated. This seems like a mess. We've got x to the third, and we've got a 9x over here, and then we've got more x's over here in parentheses and such. But if we start out by really doing what we have done for years now with solving x's, it really goes pretty easily here. So usually when we see parentheses, we think, oh, we have to distribute that 1/2. Okay, so that's the first step I'm going to do. So I'm just going to copy this x to the third down below, bring down my equal sign, and I'm going to distribute this 1/2. So 1/2 times 18 would be 9, and I still have that x there. And 1/2 times 54 would be 27. All right. And the next step is we usually like to get our x's all together. All right, so I've got a 9x on this side of the equation, and I've got a 9x on the right side of the equation. So I'm going to take away this 9x, and whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. And this is where this problem turns into a real easy problem, because 9x minus 9x, well, those go away. And 9x minus 9x, well, those also go away. So all I'm left with over here is x to the third, and all I'm left with over here is 27. Now, right at that point, that is just like an equation we did a couple videos ago, where now I need to cube root both sides. All right, so if I take x to the third, and then I cube root it, I'll put that little 3 in there to make sure I'm doing a cube root, I just am left over with x. All right, and if I take the cube root of 27, I'm going to get 3, actually. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. All right, so there's my answer for x. And really, this step right here, going from here down to here, is nothing new. We've done distribution before. This step right here is nothing new. We've subtracted 9x on both sides before. This step is new in this unit, but again, we did it a couple videos ago. So really, it's just kind of putting a bunch of things together in order to solve these. All right, so let me turn that one off, and let's go to exercise 2 and see what we can do with this one. All right, so find the positive value of x. Notice they said just the positive value, so that's good. We don't have to worry about positives or negatives when we square root. So find the positive value of x that makes the equation true. All right, in other words, just solve for x. All right, so again, I'm looking at this equation and I see I need to distribute. All right, so I'm going to distribute that x. So x times x is x squared, and x times negative 3 is negative 3x. And everything else, I'm just going to bring it down. Bring it down just like it is. All right. And let's see what we have. Next step would be to get our x's together. So I'm going to take this negative 3x and I'm going to add 3. I'm going to add 3x. And I'm going to add it to both sides of the equation. And draw in my line here. So these negative 3 plus 3, well, that's 0, so those go away. So all I'm left with here on the left is x squared minus 51. Make sure, I'm going to point this out, make sure you don't forget this minus sign is in front of the negative 51. That's a lot of people make that mistake. They leave that out. All right, so make sure you don't do that. All right, over here, negative 3 plus 3, well, again, that's 0. And this is a positive 13, so I can just bring it down as 13. All right. So now the equation looks much simpler. What can we do here? We want to get x by itself. So we have a negative 51 here, a minus 51. So I can add 51 to both sides. And they go away there. That goes to 0. I bring down my x squared. And 13 and 51, well, that's going to give me 84. All right. So where I'm at right now is x squared is not quite solved for x. I want to get rid of that squared there, right? So I want to square root both sides. So x squared and then square rooted, well, that's just going to give me an x. And this is not a perfect square. If this was 81, that would work out really nice. 81, square root of 81 is 9. All right, so I have two choices here. It doesn't really say whether they want me to round to the nearest tenth or if they want me to simplify the square root. So I'm going to leave it like this, and I'm just going to say x is the positive or the negative, remember it can be positive or it can be negative, value of the square root of 84. All right. Now if they would have said round to the nearest tenth, I would just go to my calculator and punch it in and round it to the nearest tenth. But since they didn't say, I'm just going to leave it like that, and that's my answer. All right. So let's try another one here. Let's turn this one off and put this one on here. Okay, this one a little more wordy. It says a square has a side length of 3x. So I'm going to draw myself a square. There's my square, and the side is 3x. And if that side is 3x, well, that means all of them are 3x, right? Because it's a square. So I'm just going to go ahead and label all of them. And it has an area. That gives me an idea of what formula I'm going to use. It has an area of 324 inches squared. So let's start with our area of a square formula. All right. And let's plug in everything that they give us. They give you the area is 324. All right. And they give us the side is 3x. Now watch the way I'm going to write this. This is the side is 3x. So I want to square that whole side, 3x. All right? So let's see what we can do here. Now lots of people, they want to just divide by 3 right away, but because this 3x is in parentheses here, I have to square both of these items right here. Okay, so this is actually 324 equals 9x squared. Okay. And I know I'm going to need my calculator in a minute, so I'm going to bring that right up. I'm going to move it right down here. So now I'm going to continue for solving for x. So before I square root, I want to divide by 9. And this is where I'm going to need my calculator. I'm going to bring it up, and I'm going to take 324, and I'm going to divide by 9, and I get 36. Okay, so that's going to work out real nice, because once I'm at that point, remember, what do I do now? I square root both sides, right? So x is going to be equal to plus or minus 6. Now we are talking about the side of a rectangle. So I have to apply this to the problem. It really wouldn't make sense to be a negative 6 here, because then I'd have the length of one of these sides being negative 18. So that doesn't make sense. I'm going to take that negative, I'm going to take that right off of here. I'm just going to say it's positive. It's just the positive value of x. So it's going to be positive 6. All right. Okay, so onward we go here. We've got a few more. Let's turn this one off and turn this one back on here. Find the positive value. Okay, so they want the positive value of x. That makes each equation true. So let's take a look at this one. We're going to solve for x here, and I'm going to work right off of here. I'm not going to rewrite it. Oh, this is very easy, because look at what we have. 5x and negative 5x, they're on the same side of the equation. So I can just combine those. Those are like terms. 5x and negative 5x, well, that would give me 0x. So actually those go right away. And I'm just left with 67 over here. So now I want to get x all by itself, so I'm going to add 14 to both sides, just like I'm solving an algebraic equation here. And what do we get? 67 and 14, that's going to give me 81. All right, and then our final step, we want to square root both sides, so I get x equals, now it would be positive or negative, but they want the positive value, so this is just going to be x equals 9. All right, and there's my answer. All right, a couple more to go here. Let's turn this one off and turn this one. Oh, that's exercise 1. Where do we need to go to? We are up to exercise 5. Okay. All right. What do we do? Solve and simplify. Well, I've got an x that I should distribute. All right, so I distribute that x. I get x squared minus 1x equals 121 minus x. Okay. And I'm going to take this x right here. I'm going to add it to both sides because I want to get my x's together. Oh, and look at that. They're going to eliminate. Negative x and positive x go away. They go away here. X squared equals 121. All right, and then we're finally at a point where we can square root both sides. So x, and it doesn't say positive or negative, so I'm going to say positive and negative, or positive or negative, 11. The square root of 121 is 11. All right, again, it goes back to those perfect squares, right? Alrighty, and I think we have one more. Let's turn this one off and put this one on. Exercise 6. All right, we've got two things to distribute here. We've got two items. We've got to distribute this x, and we've got to distribute this 4. So I'm going to do all that in one step here. Over here, x times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. And, oops, I got to have this this minus 3. I don't want to forget that. Minus 3. And I'm going to distribute this 4x. And if I multiply 4 times 19.5, I get 38, I believe, 38. Alrighty. Oh, well, it's more than 38. Hold on. Forgot about that 1 over there. All right, let's make sure here. Let's see, 19.5. And I'm going to multiply it by 4. Oh, yeah, 78. Okay. All right, that's better. Okay, 78. So now I've distributed my 4 and I've distributed my x, and now we want to get our x's together, right? So I'm going to get this 4x is on the left-hand side of the equation, and this 4x is on the right-hand side. So I'm going to try to get those together. I'm going to subtract 4x here and subtract 4x here. And oh, look, they go away. So that's good. That makes the problem easier here. So what am I left with over here? X squared minus 3 equals 78. And now I want to just continue to solve for x here. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. X squared equals 81. And I'm at the point where I can square root both sides. So square root. All right. So x equals plus or minus, and square root of 81 is 9. So there you have it. Okay, and there's your answer. Alrighty, so 6 different examples there. The algebra, the process, and all of them are very much the same. So hopefully those went all right for you. And thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good evening.